For Louisiana versus all y'all, Jarrett Roser here with Director of Recruiting Communications, Jordan Offseason, Louisiana guy who, before he was a big shot at a Power 5 conference school up the East Coast, was a kid from Thibodeau playing at E.D. White and Nicholls, and has obviously done some huge things early on in his post-playing, now coaching career. Jordan, what's been up, man? It had been a minute since we'd seen each other, so it was good to hop on. How have things been going up y'all's way?
Yeah, for sure, man. Appreciate you having me. It's been good, man. We feel like, we're kind of getting back to a little bit of normalcy with playing some football games and being out at practice. And even if the day's a little bit different, at least for those short hours, it feels a little bit more normal.
Yeah, and I want to get into kind of what this offseason was like for you guys, trying to gear up to getting back to this point and how things are going overall. But I mentioned, you were down here, you were not that far removed. It's probably starting to feel a little bit longer removed from playing at Nicholls a few years back. And kind of take me through the process of to where now you're starting to be as Virginia recruits more into Louisiana with you and Ricky Brumfield. Your name has kind of popped up a little bit. There's clips of Coach Mendenhall referencing you. And what has that process been like for you to build some of those relationships, show your talent for identifying talent, and get to where you are now at a pretty early stage in your career?
Yeah, I think it started just post-football, kind of not really knowing what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? Football was really all I knew. And pretty soon after I finished, I started coaching. I had a few years in high school and got a chance to coach some pretty good players, some guys who had a chance to play college, and I wanted to help those guys. So I kind of just started educating myself on the recruiting process and then kind of handled a few kids' recruiting processes. And I really liked the process, and I think ever since I kind of been around football, one of my strengths was just identifying who can play and where they should go. So, yeah, man, I kind of stumbled upon an opportunity. I spoke with Terry McDonough, who was then at the Arizona Cardinals. He asked me, do I want to be a coach? Do I want to be a scout? And I kind of didn't know the answer to that question, and he asked me, what was I good at? And I told him, and he was like, well, you need to take this course. So I took a scouting course, the Scouting Academy by Dan Hadman. I interviewed with Mr. Terry at Arizona. I ended up not getting the job. I was devastated. My boss here, Director of Player Personnel, Justin Anderson, was my receiver coach in college. So, sometimes it's for college football, man, you get a chance to meet a lot of people and end up going some places. So I ended up here, and since I got here, it's been great, man. So I'm thankful. I'm blessed.
There's probably as good of relationships as you have with these young guys coming out, there's probably a lot of those aspects that you, in your experience, whether as a player coming out of high school or a player in college or even getting started your career, that it is something that resonates very well, or a lot of easy opportunities for connections. Because when you mention the relationship with Justin and him being somewhere else and kind of how that worked out, it reminded me a lot of when we talk to these guys on the recruiting trail of you never know what coach might be where next, and don't blow off this offer, that offer, and treat everyone with respect. And obviously that wasn't something that you had to be told at any point. You pretty much get along with everyone that you come in contact with. But there have been a lot of instances through your career, whether dealing with injury or switching positions or whatever the case may be. And that networking dynamic is just another one that is so crucial during the recruiting process, and something that you can definitely share your experience with these young guys.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, throughout life, for me in sports, I've always had somebody who reached out a helping hand and helped me. And I just believe in paying it forward, man. And these guys are chasing their dreams, and what better than to be able to help people reach those goals, and I think that's my passion. My passion is people, and I get excited seeing those guys succeed, whether they come to the University of Virginia or whether they go somewhere else and play well. If I can have a chance to touch them along the way and help them along their journey, or maybe just give them some words of encouragement that help them, I feel like that's a win. You know what I mean? It's bigger than ball for me, and just being around football is cool. You know what I mean? That is awesome, but being able to touch people is even better.
Yeah, that's something that I know I catch heat from LSU fans if I'm happy for anyone that's at Bama or wherever they may end up. And that's something that you and I would, I mean, we'll see somebody wherever the heck they are around the country.
Sure.
It's just good to see those guys having that opportunity for them and their family. And yeah, it's so much bigger than just who they're scoring those 6 points for on a Saturday or whatever. That's such a huge opportunity. And it's really cool to see so many guys from Louisiana be doing big things every week.
For sure, for sure. And I think with guys like yourself and as many others in the state who do a good job of pubbing those kids and giving some of that exposure. And I think now more than ever, I mean, on a Saturday, if you're flipping channels, you probably know somebody or heard their name dang near on every team. You know what I mean? So, we just had our first game on Saturday. So the couple previous Saturdays, I had a chance to watch some football, which you don't always get a chance to do. And I feel like I was flipping back and forth channel to channel, like, oh, look at such and such, look at such and such, and a lot of those guys were from Louisiana. So, I mean, it's cool, man. It really is.
Yeah, and I definitely, as we get kind of more into talking about where you guys are now at UVA, I want to talk about kind of the I guess pipeline y'all have been able to build in some respects with some of these Louisiana guys coming up y'all's way. But getting back some to earlier in your transition into getting into those scouting positions and into your position now, the talent evaluation piece of it, how much of that was something that from your experience as a player clicked very quickly versus how much did you see strides in yourself from that course you mentioned and just looking at it from a little bit of a different side of things?
I think, being around football your whole life obviously makes it easier to be able to just understand the game and understand kind of some of the little things that a player is supposed to do. But obviously, I think the position you play is probably the one you're most familiar with, or if you played a multitude of positions. For me, it was more of a slender guy, so I played skill positions. So I was more familiar with those in the evaluation process than a line of scrimmage. So having a course like that and I guess just the repetition of doing it as my job, and even whenever I was a high school coach, doing it to just evaluate the other team, you just continue to get better and better, But yeah, I definitely think the course helped me a lot. It was school, man. Like I was spending a lot of time on that. And the guy, he actually grades your reports, and you get on the phone with him and talk through it. And some big names in the NFL who do videos. So it's almost like a coaching clinic for the positions that maybe you weren't as familiar with. But yeah, it really helped me a lot.
What were some of the, I guess, the biggest misconceptions with regards to looking at and identifying some talent that maybe you realized, whether it be early in the high school coaching portion of your career or through that test, that something kind of clicked in a big lesson that you took away that you really remember from that stretch?
I think the biggest thing is understanding like roster management and construction and size, honestly, because a lot of times, especially coming up, if you're the undersized person or if you're associated with somebody who's undersized, like, man, this guy's a no-brainer. I can't believe what these coaches say, and you know what I mean, like this, that, the other. But just understanding that it's not to say that small guys can't make it on a team or won't end up being the next Tyrann Mathieu or something like that, right? But their opportunity to get a roster spot is smaller because you can't have a whole room full. So if you offer maybe you say you're taking an undersized guy, you offer 5 of them. If one of them says yes, well, then, you're going to have to just be honest with the other 4 and say, we can't take you, you know what I mean? Just because of a number kind of situation, And I think that was something that I really realized once I got to this level, when you're at ACC games week in and week out and, seeing what an ACC team looks like and realizing like, these are some really big humans, you know what I mean? So this is the grown man's league, So I think that probably was the biggest thing that resonated with me.
Yeah, you get there and you realize, look, we can have one 5'9" speedster that's going to do some things, but it can't be 5 wide, 5'9" across the board. Somebody's
Exactly.
going to be able to get up and, yeah.
Especially with DBs getting bigger and bigger, you see 6'2" corners out there, man. So to me, receiver position had to grow. And then it's the same thing in the line of scrimmage. Sometimes people think their guy, this is a big boy and he's about 6'2", he's big for that area, you know what I mean? But he's not big when you bring him out here against some 6'6", 6'4", you know what I mean? So yeah, size for sure, man.
As you headed up that way a little over 2 years ago now and started to kind of find your way within that program and establish yourself. Obviously, y'all have brought some Louisiana talent up that way probably more consistently now than certainly at any point in recent years. What were those conversations like? Was that something that they told you they wanted you to really tap into those Louisiana connections, or was that more of an organic piece because of you knowing the area so well and having those networks that you were able to see, a Dontavian Wicks or whoever it may be, and as you then show that film, it didn't really matter where they were going to come from. It just kind of it worked out that those were guys that you saw and knew early on.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of both, wanting to tap into the area and it being organic at the same time, So me and Coach Ricky got here around the same time. He got here a few months before me. So when he got here, he offered some guys, and then when I got there, we offered some more. And I think it was kind of a test run, I would say, probably the first year. Like we were kind of talking together, like, man, we got to get one. You know what I mean? And then once a few guys did come, you know what I mean, and we realized finding the right fit in Louisiana, guys who would fit at UVA and good football players, they were coming, you know what I mean? And we kind of found a niche, and they were really good players. So it was hard to say that we wouldn't go back. And then the following year we had some success again there. So, yeah, man, I think we try to recruit close, right? Just because off-season purposes, people driving up, you like to be kind of in that 6-hour radius. It's easier to get people on campus. But when you have strong ties in a place, I think sometimes it doesn't matter.
Beyond just the talent and what shows up on the tape, as you're identifying guys that you think would be a good fit for your program in terms of the culture, the school, the area, what are some aspects that you look at as you get to know some of these high school athletes and their families and their backgrounds a little bit more than necessarily just what you see on Friday nights?
Yeah, it starts with the tape to attract you, but it's much more than that. You know what I mean? Athlete and what else, and just getting to know people and make sure they can do it in school, number one, right? Because this is an academic institution, man. It's tough here. You know what I mean? We have all the support in the world to make sure that you're successful. But we want to make sure that we're not setting them up for failure. I want somebody who can definitely do it in that retrospect. And then at the same time, just got to be cut a little different, and people in Louisiana, that's how they're cut, man. And having people who want hard work and nothing's ever really been handed to them, right? So whenever you come up here and it's time to get it in, you're going to get it in. And just have that edge, man. And for whatever reason, I think people, we face a lot of adversity down there, or sometimes we're recruiting kids from places that their whole life is adverse situations, right? So when you give them some structure, man, and cut them loose on that field, they're special,
How rewarding has that been to see some of that momentum gained and to see some of the opportunities that these guys from your home state have now had to come up y'all's way and, become playmakers for the program? And also, how much fun has it just been to have some more Louisiana guys around year after year?
Yeah, awesome for sure. I had a vision, man, LA to VA, you know what I mean? I was trying to start a little movement, and the wave kind of caught, and it was cool. The fans, they started putting hashtag GEAUX who's, you know what I mean? So when I saw that, I was like, yeah, the flame caught, man. We did it, and Mike Hollins, I have to credit him, man. He led the way, he paved the way, and that was the conversations we were having. We were sitting in the stands, and I was telling him, man, bro, like, I have a vision, what I'm saying? Like, you can start the movement, man. You're the first one, be a leader, and he wanted to, he embraced that. And Mike was the first one, and then Dontavian Wicks, who was a sleeper in that class, and then, last year, following up with three other guys, and Donovan kind of led the way. Donovan Johnson for New Orleans. People from New Orleans think New Orleans is his own place. You know what I'm saying? That's not that. Y'all got people from Louisiana, but nobody from New Orleans. So that was Donovan's. He feels like he's a leader of New Orleans, and then Brandon Williams followed, and then obviously we had another sleeper, and Jonathan Harton, and off-season transaction of transfer with Keaton Thompson. New Orleans native, who was definitely he was big time in football, man. We remember him from high school. Everybody does. He's a legend down there.
Yeah. Most of those dudes were big time playmakers for their high schools. And you mentioned New Orleans being a different place. Donovan's a little bit of a different dude. He's one of the funniest guys you'll be around for folks that have only seen the tape and not had a chance to converse with him. What a character.
No doubt. And his personality is definitely caught here, you know, he got the whole team doing the gritty, man. So they were dancing. I started laughing last Saturday. I'm like, yeah, Donovan brought that here, man. Look, the culture, you know what I mean? So it was cool to see, man. I love it. I really do.
With as much as the personal rapport and just those connections mean for a program, in particular on the recruiting trail, what has this bizarre year and off season been like for you guys? Because so much usually rides on, the summertime and getting a chance to see people in person, whether it be them coming to y'all or y'all getting a chance to go out and visit for spring ball or whatever events. How many additional hurdles did that put in y'all's way to try and identify guys, build those relationships, and what were some ways that y'all tried to maneuver through that?
Yeah, man, I think it's definitely been a unique situation. When COVID hit, this is unbroken ground for all of us, you know. So no one had a blueprint or a plan or a way that you knew would work. So people just started kind of trying things, and they kept having dates saying that potentially recruits would be able to come on campus or we'd be able to go out, and that would get pushed back. And I think number one, you have a plan in the offseason, you know, the kids you want to see in spring, you know, to get that in-person evaluation or really to see a true size, and that was thrown out of the window. So everybody who kind of had you may have an offer grade or something, but a C in spring tag, you just had to, you got to just trust your eyes, go back to the film and dig a little deeper, or anything you can, man. Seeing Twitter film, yard workouts, one-on-ones. They had a little 7-on-7 go on for a quick second, and some people are playing out of town and stuff like that. But more than anything, Zoom. I think virtual visits that has become huge, and just trying to really show the kids what they would be able to see in person, and just try to create something virtually, because it's really just what we have right now, and I feel for those guys, because obviously you want to see a place with your own eyes if you're going to choose there. And I think this year more than any, when you've seen a lot of commitments early, and it seemed to me it was a little bit more regional, right? Like maybe a kid had been there prior to, just when he was younger or something like that, and wasn't able to take any more visits that were a little more national. So you just went ahead and locked something in and went to a place that you knew already. So yeah, definitely a unique year, class of 2021, man. I feel for you guys, so hopefully, those guys find their fits. And I really feel for the guys who need that senior year to kind of burst on the scene. And now in most states, football's coming on. So it's definitely a good thing.
You mentioned having had sort of a goal or a game plan when you were getting started up there, as you, whether you individually or you as, a staff recruiting, or you guys as a program, what are some of the things that y'all talk about now from where you are moving forward in these next year, next couple years? What's kind of the outlook and the mindset to keep building on the momentum you have?
Yeah, something Coach Mendenhall talks about a whole bunch is unbroken growth, So really, wherever we are one year, you just want to be better than that the following, in all aspects. So that's with coaching, that's with the product you put on the field, it's with recruiting, everything, you know what I mean? So I think just continue to progress, and you've seen kind of over the years, if you follow or just look at the numbers and what Coach is doing, I mean, he's trending, man. He got here and had to kind of clean house, and then he went 2 wins, 6 wins in a bowl berth, then 8 wins and a Belk Bowl win over South Carolina, 28-0, and then 9 wins, an ACC championship appearance, and a New Year's 6 appearance at the Orange Bowl versus Florida, So I just feel like the proof is in the pudding, man. The numbers are there, right? If you look over his career, he averaged about 10 wins a year. So I just feel like we're hitting that sweet spot, and it takes hard work to remain consistent. So just work hard and try to maintain and continue to grow.
We've hit on a lot of it, I guess, a lot of aspects. But in terms of advice that you have for young football players that are kind of navigating the recruiting process, whether it be this weird year and what's in front of them under these circumstances, or, typical recruiting process and just knowing that there's for most families, it's the first time that they're going through it for a guy and his parents. What would kind of some advice be as they go through things?
Yeah, no. When the process comes, if you've never been through it before or been around somebody who's been through it before, I feel like it's kind of a whirlwind, you know. And until you've been through it, you kind of don't know how to navigate through it. So I think first and foremost, early on, is be on top of your grades. You know, a lot of times guys they miss out on opportunities because they don't have the grades, you know, or they're borderline qualified late and maybe not getting to go to the place that they wanted to because that school couldn't wait to see if they were going to make it, you know. So that's first and foremost. And then secondly, work, you know what I mean? Work. And that's in the off season. It's not just during football season that you prepare for the following, you know, off season, man. Play multiple sports. And then when that process does start and you start collecting those offers, is kind of come up with a checklist and think about the things that matter to you, things that really matter, that have substance, that are going to benefit you off the field, post football, things like that, and kind of know what you're looking for. And when you go places, check those boxes. And if it checks all of your boxes and it feels right, man. Or if a few of them check those boxes, then you really got to get down to the nitty gritty and figure out what's going to matter to make that decision. But I think a lot of times people don't know what they're looking for, and when you don't know what you're looking for, everything looks good. So just to kind of have that, you know, and I try to give people some advice along the way, just because I feel for them, you know. Like if you've never been through, you got 30 offers, you know, man, that is tough. Wake up in the morning with all of those text messages, I can't imagine, you know.
Yeah, as much as a lot of people struggle with what am I about to eat for lunch and how to commit their next half an hour, committing the next 3 to 5 years is a tall task for a, you know, 17, 18-year-old guy, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
Kind of similarly, and again, you hit on some of this when we talked about early in your career, but advice for young coaches, whether it be, I mean, a young high school coach that's looking to kind of progress his career, or someone that's just finishing up their playing career, just, you know, finishing up in college or wherever their last stop may be, and trying to determine how to dive in and what kind of mindset to take with them. What would be some of your advice from your experience?
Yeah, I think just like anything else, and like I said before with those kids, it's hard work, you know, and putting the time in, and sometimes be willing to bet on yourself, you know, and take a chance. For whatever reason, you know, getting into football, man, it's not the most luxurious job at first when it comes to pay, you know, and a lot of times you have to bet on yourself and trust that you'll put in the work and show your talent and continue to progress. And I think being around, networking, that is super important. You know, if it's trying to, you know, go to camps or in the off season, going to the coaches conventions, whatever the case, and just getting to know people, sitting down and talking and having conversations, right? Learn some ball, and you never know. Like we talked about earlier, how I ended up here. You know, the guy coached me in college. I kept a relationship with him, not knowing that this would ever transpire, you know, and the opportunity was there, and I tried to just take advantage of it.
Yeah, I think as much as people outside of sports just look at, oh, they have a job, they're, you know, a football coach, or they have a job somehow associated with sports, like that sounds so fun. Some of the grind of that gets lost, that it is not always luxurious, especially starting out. It rarely is. And so there's a lot of, you have to be in the right place, you have to know the right people, but you have to be talented, and you have to pay a lot of dues early on to get that
Yes.
opportunity.
Yeah, and when those dues are paid, man, and the work is there, it definitely pays off, you know, and during that time you get to touch a lot of lives, and I think that's the cool part.
Good deal, man. Well, I appreciate you taking some time and chatting with me some about it. Always a pleasure, obviously.
Yeah, for sure, man. Keep doing your thing, man. Louisiana versus all y'all.
I appreciate it. And I forgot, I was gonna say I wore the red one for Nicholls. I was figuring out which color I was gonna wear to hop on with you. So let me get that Colonel's red color going.
Yeah, for sure. Well, appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, Jordan. Again, he's Jordan Arcement, the director of recruiting communications up at Virginia. A guy from down here in the boot, played his high school ball at E.D. White, and then went on to Nicholls State there in his backyard. For Louisiana versus all y'all, Jet Roser. And keep an eye out for the Virginia guys doing the gritty on Saturday soon.
For sure. Signing out.